Our U.S. is to deploy 5 aircraft carriers to Western Pacific in a show of strength to China. All of this at the same time that there is cryptic announcements about something being launched into space that could be harm to our satellites. We are being told not to panic. I'm not kidding you. They're saying don't panic when a politician tells you not to panic. Usually you look somewhere. And then, of course, 5 aircraft carriers being deployed. At the same time, today, there was a mysterious launch by SpaceX of an unannounced top secret payload. So lots of really strange things going on here. As far as the U.S. is likely to deploy nearly half of its aircraft carriers in the Western Pacific this year in a signal of deterrence against the increasing military activity in the region by China and North Korea. It says 3 U.S. aircraft carriers are already operating in the Western Pacific Ocean, with 2 more on the way. The arrival will mark the first time that the 5 of the 11-strong carrier contingent have operated in the region. The USS Abraham Lincoln, part of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet, was spotted heading out of its home port in San Diego, and it says was sailing towards the Western Pacific as of February 5th. And according to the U.S. Naval Institute's Fleet of Marine Tracker, it says that the USS George Washington was also expected to be deployed in the region to replace the USS Ronald Reagan, which will be relocating from Yokosuka, Japan, for maintenance at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Washington. That's actually by me. The USS George Washington was the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier to be deployed to Japan, where it served from 28 to 2015. So you've got something that's been somewhere for a long time, and they're moving it. We also know from Fugglefam Military, we actually told you this, that there was going to be more carrier deployments. That is something we found out from our audience because we have active duty Navy. So they actually told us this. We've been talking about this for 2.5 months. We've been able to get a couple weeks notice on pretty much all of these deployments. And as we said, more carrier deployments. This is when they say show of strength, just think about this. This could also be just moving around all of our troops. You have NATO, of course, now currently in this, largest Navy exercise ever. Just last week, we reported that they are actually moving things around, and they said that they didn't want photography of all of the tanks and everything moving around Europe. At the same time, you have UK actually bringing in their Navy and coming into the Middle East. So you've got them relieving the U.S. so then they can go over to China. It sounds a whole lot like we're going to have a war on multiple fronts, and they are trying to position their ships all around the world. This is it. And we've been telling you for a long time, when it finally comes, people are going, the fear-mongering stuff, that will all go by the wayside, and people will then be going, okay, so what do we do now? And that's probably where we're going to shift our focus in the coming months, is what do we do about it? How do we prepare for it? So get prepped up. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about a lot today. In fact, we have a ton on the docket. We have the national security EMP threat. They are saying that there is something up there. They just launched something as well. They say national security space launch, of course, just happened. Iran's pipelines were attacked. We have North Korea launch surface-to-sea missiles, which is insane. We have Philippines deploys warship. We have U.S. aircraft carrier nonstop flights. We have Serbia receiving arms from Russia. We have Ukraine sank another Russian landing ship. Putin claims a cancer breakthrough, which, who knows, maybe he had cancer and he cured himself. Mosquito tornadoes. We have, you won't believe where they found water now. Of course, all of this, plus, of course, we're going to update you on some of the Bang Bang events that have just happened. Kansas City Chiefs celebratory thing. We've got multiple schools. All sorts of things are going on. So this is a show you do not want to miss. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We have a ton to go over. We're going to go over to Earth, and we're going to be moving from the U.S. deploying the 5 ships over to a national security threat. We're going to talk about this, but first, let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
And thank you again. The first couple minutes is a sound check in itself. So thank you for letting me know that I was a little low. If I'm ever low or Dex is ever low, let me know. Or if one of us is too loud, you can always tell us in the live chat. Also, if you have breaking news that you see as our show is on, we're on. So if we're missing something, usually Dex can get it onto the show. He can actually add it to the website if there's something we missed. We put this together all day. And, of course, we update you on the most current stuff as of the last 24 hours. So today is going to be nuts. We have a lot of really, really crazy things. It is all lining up. It is exactly what we have been looking at. The whole community has seen this coming for a long time. It is now happening. Whether it is orchestrated or organic, what is happening right now, people should be prepared for it. So, Dex, first of all, we highlighted some really important parts out of this, and it is something we talked about earlier. And again, if you want to go watch the news video, wait until the end. You can, of course, click this if you're watching the replay. Go straight to it. There's going to be a card up above after the show that's going to bring you to that news video that we talk about it. But they essentially said that they believe that Russia, there's some sort of threat in space. They believe it has something to do with satellites. As it came out and as it rolled out, we found out more and more. And we already knew what they were going to say. We knew what they were going to say before they said it. They essentially mentioned that they believe that Russia is putting something in space, a nuke in space, that could potentially knock out, satellites. And by what they're saying, we can easily guess that they are saying that they're trying to go for our satellites. Dex, do you want to talk about the House Intel Chair warns of serious national security threat?
Yeah, so the key point here, and if we can go down to this quote from Rep. Jim Himes, I think that's probably the most important. But look, what they're talking about, and as Adam was saying, they alluded to, it sort of came out that it was Russia, then it came out that it was nuclear, and then it came out that it was space, and then they had to calm everybody down by saying, don't worry, it's just satellites. Well, if they're going after satellites with a nuke, that means an EMP. And we know that. Everybody here knows that. We talk about this. We've been talking about it for 5 years, how they would use this technology. And we know that Starfish Prime has taken out. So if you want all those details, go check out that short video. It's perfect for you to share with your family and friends because it's a really nice, short, compact, concise video. It's over on news. As Adam said, the link will be above. Since then, Jim Himes came out and said, there's no reason for the public to panic. People should not panic. It's right to highlight this issue, but it's so sensitive that right now, we're not publicly discussing it. He goes, I don't want people to think that Martians are landing or that Wednesday is going to be ruined. Now, I personally, when a politician says don't do something, I kind of always think about the opposite. So if they're trying to tell us not to panic, there's a reason they're saying it, and it's not because they're probably trying to keep us from panicking. They probably are trying to keep us from panicking from something we need to know, and they're just trying to not let the cat out of the bag right now. That's my personal opinion, but when they say these kinds of things, you always got to question why they're saying it.
You also wonder, as far as, what did they just sit through? What did they just hear that we don't know? Why even mention? Nobody was panicking, right? Is that purposeful? Is that to actually make people go, whoa, why don't we need to panic? What do you think when you hear somebody say, hey, everybody, we shouldn't panic? When we don't know the full story, we don't know what the meeting was that they sat through. So, of course, people are going to go, whoa, what do we need to be scared? People are going to pay attention. Mind you, there's a lot of distractions right now. But at this point, when you look at this is the most likely. From an adversarial kind of attack mode, EMP/satellites communications. It is bar none. If you ask any military in our group, they will tell you the first thing you knock out if you're going to go to war with somebody, which it's pretty clear we're about to go to war, whether now or in the next couple years, that you would go after power, you'd go after communications, and you would, of course, basically cut them off from everybody else. You try to, whoever your enemy is, you're going to try to isolate them and keep them separated. As far as knocking power out, knocking out comms, as far as knocking out our satellites, that does a huge, huge hit to us. And as far as other ways that they can do that, they can, of course, drop an EMP from space. They can do a whole lot of ways. It is why it's the most likely. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and for those of you that don't think that this is organic and think that it's orchestrated, as some would call it, there's the event coming up in November, and a lot of people wonder what's going to happen then. And I can tell you right now, if the power goes out, you're pretty much stuck at home, if you know what I mean. And that will change things, and other things can't happen during the month of November if the power is out, if the grid is down, if an event like this happens. So start thinking about your plans between now and then, making sure you're prepared for it.
Mind you, if the power goes out, if we have a grid down, say it's not for a year, 2 years, maybe they have actually prepared well enough to where it just goes out for 7 days to 2 weeks, and somehow miraculously they say, well, good thing we prepared for this. It only went down for a week. Just so you know, in the first 3 days of a power outage, if it was a countrywide, nationwide blackout, you're talking about chaos. We've seen New York lose power for a day, and it was absolute chaos. When you talk about a whole country losing power, first of all, people are going to panic in the first 3 hours, let alone when people start figuring out over 24 or 48 hours, when people start getting the information that this is everywhere, that it's all over the country. That is when people will panic. That is when people will be desperate. That is when all of the people, all of your peers that said you were crazy and a nut job, those are the people that are going to go, wait, I don't have anything. Oh my gosh, I didn't listen to anybody. I didn't think that this was real. When it all happens, if it happens, when this stuff kind of stuff goes down, everybody is going to go, whoa, I don't have anything. Who do you think they're going to turn to? They're going to turn to the people they know that were prepared, that have been talking about this for a long time. The thing is, people on that side of the argument, they go, oh, well, they've been saying something was going to happen forever. Things have happened. If you look at time, there's always been a major event in history, and almost every lifetime there's been a massive event. If you think CV was that massive event, you're wrong. Like CV, depending on what you think, you're either thinking, yeah, no, that's just something that they flipped the switch on, or two, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. There's it could have been much worse if there was a high rate, something that could make millions and millions and millions and millions perish, or billions, that kind of thing. That is a possibility. People think everything is fake now. As far as with all of this stuff, say you go, space isn't even real, and these guys are just trying to scare us. Well, we are coming up on that event, and this kind of thing, this would be a perfect way. I don't think they can do, it's not like if we did have mysteriously another thing kind of break out and everybody had to be through home and everybody had to do these at-home things, I think that would be a little over the top, but who knows? We've seen over the top for the last 4 or 5 years. Not to mention everything else we've talked about. There's a whole list of reasons why our country right now is extremely high risk, and we're talking about the USA. So, with that being said, yeah, if they say don't panic, usually you go, maybe we should pay attention. And at the same time, you have a liftoff of February, what was this, 5th or 7th? Wait, which one? Oh, this is today. This is ours. So, mind you, we'll show you.
5 days ago was Russia's.
5 days ago was Russia's launch. They launched a Ministry of Defense unannounced secret payload. Now, the U.S. has launched an unannounced secret payload into space from SpaceX, and this thing was, just launched. In fact, just a couple hours. Oh, this is not good luck at all. Look at the amount of views. Gosh, we're just really batting 1,000 here. But as far as this launch here, with SpaceX, this whole thing here, it's not good. As far as what is on this rocket, we don't know if they are telling the truth. If they aren't telling the truth, and this is all just one big circus, that's great. I better hope we better hope it is. But at the same time, with all of the other events with our border, with China versus Taiwan, North Korea versus South Korea, you've got Venezuela versus Guyana, you have Russia versus Ukraine, Israel versus Hamas. You have all of these things happening all at once. All at once. They're all trying to grab their neighbor's land. Why is that happening? Well, they know something is going on that we don't. Why are the richest people in the world building gigantic bunkers and having deadlines like they want it done now? That's no joke. We've confirmed even more information on how all of the bunker companies have skyrocketed, like Atlas is just one of many. All of the companies that provide prep stuff, that is just skyrocketed. So we know for sure that everybody in this field is just going like this. Is that because of the panic, or is that because of information? That's a big deal. Do we know if this is because of a domino effect of people saying, "Oh, he did it, I should do it. If he knows something, I should," or is it because the people at the very top are saying, "Hey, do this, you should do this, and you got a little bit of time left, but you should really do it now." That's a thing. It's very creepy to think that maybe it isn't all as organized as we think, and maybe the best you could hope for was a warning. Dex, as far as the launch, also we did.
I mean, look, we know nothing about this because it's a secret Space Force launch, and it's a national security launch, is what they called it. How fitting that it happens at the same time that this is going on. So it's 5 days ago, Ministry of Defense from Russia. Big announcement today. Everybody's worried about something, and then boom, we got to get this national security launch up. I'm not saying that they just rolled this thing out at the last second and did it. This stuff happens to be planned, but yes, that is the actions that are happening. And look, Adam, you were just talking about the fact that in all of these elites are just building bunkers like crazy, and we had validated, or we had talked about that based on some news reporting. We had validated that with one of our friends over at Energy who told us yes, and that's what we talked about last night. Since then, we actually did talk to the folks over at EMP Shield, and they confirmed as well. So we've got two independent sources on top of that news article that came out that could have been fluff, but it really wasn't. That these vendors are actually seeing a huge uptick in their product sales specifically for major bunkers.
Yeah, and as far as the companies involved, there's one of my peers on YouTube is a prepper. They wished not to say their name because they do not want their affiliate knowing that they were telling people. But there is another affiliate in food that said that they are absolutely getting the most the largest orders they have ever received in history. And these are extremely important people that have never ordered before. So when you put together even the 2+2 of the last 2 years, then you add in what is happening day by day. If you compartmentalize that, people go, "Oh, it's nothing." But when you actually archive every event of every day, like we do, if you go back through the last 2 weeks even, you will see one event after another. And if you put those next to each other, like a lot, we do the compilations of kind of the crazy news you should pay attention to. It's like we have so much. It would be a 2 or 3 hour long video just going over a compilation of the last 3 months. There are so many stories that are so integral to what is happening. It's insane. And people are not going to pay attention. I know you guys are. I know that our audience, 99% of you are already on board. You already have, a basic prep going. You don't want to go insane. There's some people that it hit too hard. There's some people that panic when they see this stuff. You should not be panicked. This should not make you afraid. This should be something that you've been watching for years. And when it does happen, you're not going to be hitting the side of the face with it. It is an event. It's part of life. Death is part of life. You don't sit under a rock the whole time, or maybe you do. You can't stay in your house the whole time saying, I don't want to drive in a car. I could get in a car accident. I don't want to fly in a plane. The plane crashes. You go out and live life. Same with this. But as far as if you drive in a car, if you have car insurance, it's smart. If you fly in plane, it's probably better to fly in a big, safe one rather than a small one with a drunk pilot, right? There's things you can do to maximize your survival chances, and that's what we're talking about. As far as this is news from a prepper standpoint. So if you've never joined us before, subscribe. We've covered a ton that you should have known over the last 5 years, and you wouldn't be surprised by all of this. Speaking of which, let's do a quick roll call. Thank you, everybody that has made it already. We have so many great people. The Terrible Truth, What is Happening, Butterfly 31. Let's do a quick just state or province, general area. Find other Foogle fam from your area. You can always hook up and say hello. California in the house, Terrible Truth, Tomateer. We've got Viv B. We've got Cinny. We've got, of course, Carolyn Moore Smith. God got this. Hey, and there's no, personally, I think that most of us that have faith, faith in our higher power, I have faith in my God that everything is going to be okay. And faith comes into a part of it. This is also a spiritual battle in a lot of people's opinions, and in mine as well. I think that we all have to just be spiritually ready for what's going to happen. And if you are, you're going to be much better off than those that aren't. FEMA Region 9, Lady L. We've got no more Milwaukee, now Wausau, Wisconsin. Hey, that's awesome. It's always fun to move. It's always an adventure. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Nice. I've got some family over there. Ziggy from Ziggyville. We've got Occam's Razor in the house. I saw Ross Adams from Southern New England here. Hey, nice to see that. Doge Phoenix. Hey, what up? Nice to see the Twitter fam over there, especially Doge Phoenix always posts really good stuff. Go check him out. I'm sorry, I shouldn't assume you're he, but check out their. You're into flight simulators and stuff. I made an assumption there. Papa Meatball, Big Tex, South Texas. We've got Eastern Iowa, Carol Willett, Erica. We've got Annie Oakley, FEMA Region 7. We've got Teresa Kennedy, NOLA, and Washington State in the house. Lots of Wisconsin. Ross Adams, hey, nice to see you. Boom. Still in the kitchen, Maryland. Nice to see you. Rip Curl from Oregon. If you guys haven't checked him out, he is over on marfuglenews.com/friends. Same with Ilea, Trinity, Wages World. Wages is also on top of all of this going on right now. We just covered over the last couple of days all of the solar events. The solar events have been happening one after another. Luckily, these have been, not obviously. We haven't had the insane, world-ending solar flares, but the activity is just on a spike. It's like a roller coaster going up the hill. So pay attention to that too. That's another thing that might hit us just way out of left field. Some would say not, though. We're in solar cycle 25 and we're hitting the solar maximum. So let's see here. Let's go over to Iran. Dex, do you want to go talk about Iran? Blames sabotage and terrorism after explosions damage key gas pipeline.
Yeah, certainly. So with this latest attack, as they're calling it, this hit a key pipeline that's running from the south of the country, where we're kind of showing you here on the screen, all the way up to the Caspian Sea. It's their petroleum lines. And the minister came out and said, hey, it's impacted about 790 miles. Well, the pipeline is 790 miles long. And the explosions took place in two different provinces in the central and then in southern. So in the south down near this end. So they basically run the oil down to this area, then load it up onto ships and sell it off. So we don't know exactly who's responsible. They haven't said. Of course, anytime something's happening with them, given the state of affairs and the tension with everything going on in the Middle East, we also did see that big event that happened on the day they were celebrating Soleimani that took out a lot of people in the crowds. It turned out that was from a T group that was against them, that was in the Middle East. So it was totally, I guess, inside their purview, not an external factor in a sense of an external state-sponsored type event from, say, Israel or the U.S. or someone else. Now, I don't know that would ever come from this. We would see something like that, but you never know. And right now, they're claiming it's saboteurs, and they're claiming it's but it could be that they could be pointing the finger towards a state-sponsored organization too. And if that's the case, that will ramp up quickly. If they start pointing the finger at say Israel specifically for this. And that's quite possible they could, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, yeah. Most of the folks commenting on this on X, a lot of people said, yeah, this was the U.S. or they're all speculating on what happened, what is going to happen because of this. You also have Rafah. We talked about the creepy videos going out. Forces of men doing these huge spectacle marches, kind of a show of force, uh, basically saying, we are the protectors. If they mess with that last part of the strip, that we're going to come in like fire and fury, all of this. There's been actually a bunch of their messages coming out of there that are all along the same lines. It's really this Rafah, the last area of the strip where 2.3 million people have been compacted down to that little area. It's going to be really, really big deal depending on what happens there. Egypt has tanks along their border waiting for something to go down. And then, of course, you have events like this. The terrible truth. Yeshua, Jesus is returning. The darkness will precede his coming. Love you all. Foogle fam, terrible truth. It's nice to see you again, and you've been here for a long time, so thank you so much for continuing to watch. Greg Heiss, thank you for the support. I appreciate that. And Julie Pilkerton, I do truly believe we are under threat, but no worse than normal. I also believe our government is trying to bully us into paying for UKR. Julie, I think the opposite. I think they're almost done with UKR, and I don't think they care about what we think about the payments going to UKR. They could do it whether we support it or not. They have everybody in their pocket. I think when you look at the goals and the agendas that they want to get done in a very short period of years, there has to be a massive change. By the way, if our power goes out for 7 days, 2 weeks, say that's best case scenario, say if we do have some sort of event and hypothetically it's orchestrated, people will be begging to be secure. After the hell that everybody goes through, after the lost lives and everybody that has the hellish time without power and we're completely stripped of all of our electronics and everything else, people will be begging for national security changes. They'll be begging for people to be monitored so it never happens again. They will be begging for all sorts of changes. And the government will say, well, of course, we'll do whatever you want. We just care about you. What are you asking? Oh, well, we've got thousands of people asking us for this. They say that we should have everybody put their real name to every internet account so that we can track and trace them. This is all for your safety, guys. We got to track every transaction. The money used for this attack, it went through public ways. We need to track this. It was all done because of people's privacy. What do you care about, privacy or your kids? I hope that that's not on the way. And then Bones and Tub Show. Hey, it's been a long time. You've been here as well. Love you, Marf, Dex, and Foogle fam. Everybody should slide over and create a Rumble. Follow you there. Hope to talk to you soon. Bones and Tubs, we are live over there as well. Thank you, Awaken 1979. Carol, love your family and friends. Carol, I agree with that 100%. And before we move on, again, there's a way to protect yourself against this. We've talked about this for years. Now, people are starting to come around as far as understanding the value of being able to actually protect yourself against an EMP. This device is a very, very useful and small device that can protect your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, pretty much anything that runs, including your generators, ham radios, even your home. Once you wire one of these into your home, it will protect everything plugged in within 250 linear feet. As far as, well, does it work? DHS, of course, DOD, the DEMSO team is using EMP Shield to help protect as far as the Texas grid. So this is a company that started making these by hand in Kansas out of a tiny building when we started with them. Now, after contracts, of course, they are still making them by hand. They are still an American-made, veteran-owned company, but they have expanded. Their product was so useful that they have clients all over the world. So again, go to marfugglenews.com/EMP. Also, if they are running out of the regular size, always check to see if they have the micro. It's all the same protection in a smaller package. This way, your car will be able to drive to get where you need to go or get home so you can get home to your family. It protects not only against multiple EMP strikes, but it can also protect you against a Carrington-level event from the sun. If we have a CME that hits and it's hard, this will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. That's marfugglenews.com/EMP. And it helps support us. You get $50 off per device, and it supports independent media. So thank you guys. More so, though, to help us, make sure to share the show out. Share it with somebody that's never seen us. Thank you for subscribing. George Kelly. Thank you, and thank you. Appreciate that. Dex, do you want to go over Cuba? What the heck is going on with Cuba?
Oh, wow. So South Korea, of all people, is now establishing reestablishing, I should say, their diplomatic ties with Cuba. This is obviously Cuba's been aligned with, the enemies, so to speak, or the opposite of anybody that's aligned with the West. So they've aligned with Russia and China and North Korea specifically. So it's a little odd to see that, but South Korea has established diplomatic relations with Cuba, one of North Korea's Cold War era allies. The South Korean Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday. So with their UN representatives exchanging letters in New York, the two countries have agreed to open diplomatic relationships at the ambassadorial level. So basically, they'll have ambassadors in each country, and they'll be able to communicate through that and have diplomatic ties with one another. I don't know that this necessarily means that all of a sudden they're going to be allies. We have we've had diplomats in Russia, so to speak, or even in China, and vice versa. So, but it does at least, I guess, create the line of communication. But it's just an interesting thing. I mean, it's just not something you would think to hear, but at the same time, they have now established that. So we're going to have to pay attention to what's going on. A lot's happened in Cuba. A lot of things with China have been going on there, with the potential creation of that intelligence base and spying base there. That's been speculated or even potentially proven that that's happened. Of course, you've got the connections with Cuba and Russia going way back in time. So, we've got such a short distance to our border, so to speak, or our land, and especially there in South Florida, the Keys being the closest, but just mainland South Florida right there is, you can almost throw a ball between the two. Not, you literally can't, but I mean, people float over in rafts. That's how close it is. From Cuba to say southern Florida, so it is right there. And it's close.
Yeah, you pretty much said everything. I was just gonna chime in as far as like China and Russia both have those intelligence. And I always get these backwards or mixed up. But one has a surveillance kind of surveillance building / they said radars, and I think that was Russia. And then one has a training base. But either way, Russia and China are heavily working with Cuba. As far as there's this whole circle of the adversaries that are all working together, and they're setting up for something. Maybe South Korea is trying to go in and say, "Hey, we'll give you more money. Whatever they pay you, we'll pay you triple to tell us what's going on." I don't know, but it's way too close. Cuba and Florida. Look at that. I mean, how many miles is that? That's 100 kilometers. Gosh, when you zoom out, it does more. So hold on here. Yeah, 400 kilometers. Is that like 100 miles away from, or is that less? I think that might be less. Geez, that's like 100 and something miles away. 200 kilometers is about the distance from the tip to Cuba. So not fun if they get folks there, or if our adversaries can work with Cuba and get their forces there. Gosh, that's a short trip. And over to North Korea, we have Kim Jong-un oversees test of surface-to-sea missile. So lots of tests that have been going through over the last couple of weeks. It's gotten hotter as far as North Korea has been shooting artillery right near. They've actually evacuated areas of South Korea. And we have North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test of new surface-to-sea missiles on Wednesday and visited major munitions factory where he called for a boost in weapons production. They're getting ready for war. That's why. North Korea launched multiple cruise missiles off its east coast on Wednesday. South Korea military said the latest of multiple such tests in recent weeks before an April general in South Korea. Kim said that South Korea is violating the North's sovereignty by insisting on a Northern Limit Line, or the NLL, the maritime demarcation line between the two Koreas. Kim gave orders to strengthen military readiness in the waters north of Yeonpyeong Island and the west of the Korean Peninsula in the region of the NLL, KCNA said. It is not important how many lines exist in the West Sea of Korea when the enemy intrudes into the maritime border recognized by us. We will regard it as an encroachment upon our sovereignty of the DPRK and an armed provocation against it, Kim said, according to KCNA. So not only are they testing new kinds of weapons, which we could probably assume they may be, as far as if there's new tech involved, that they may be trading for, artillery for new tech from Russia. They could be trading with China. They could be doing all sorts of things. So I guess we will follow it. Speaking of which, thank you again, Steric. Thank you. Jen, thank you for subscribing. George Kelly, thank you for subscribing. Greg Hahn, thank you for subscribing as well. And as always, if you subscribe during a live show, always try to shout you out. Thank you so much. Let's go over to the Philippines. This is getting wild. Philippines deploys a warship in Western waters to safeguard maritime interests. Dex, do you want to go over what do they do in the Philippines?
So, they continue to have the skirmishes there, especially over that atoll that they were trying to maintain. But in addition to that, in addition to the run-ins with the Coast Guard, now they're putting out a warship specifically out past the Palawan Islands. This is facing the South China Sea, and they're saying it's to protect their maritime interests. So this warship will be there, I guess, to either ward off the tensions that continue to build up between, say, the Coast Guard of China and some of the other vessels, including some of the resupply vessels that go to those different locations that they're trying to maintain and claim. But this definitely takes it to a new level. So if this ship, a wartime ship or warship, is out there, we are getting closer to having something besides let's just put laser beams into the cockpit from one ship to another, or shoot water cannons at the smaller vessel to sort of dissuade it from coming any further. We could get to a point where we actually see them starting to threaten real kinetic activity amongst each other. And I think that's, as we've said and we've predicted, they're going to use that area. They're going to use the South China Sea and the confluence with both Vietnam and Philippines over those territories, including Japan, but that's really closer to Taiwan. But they're going to do that, in my opinion, to split us. At the same time, having North Korea create a conflict in the north as they as they go after the south, which they keep claiming they're going to do. And that makes it easy for China to walk right into Taiwan, because we will be split, dealing with two different events, one in the north, one in the south, and Taiwan being right in the middle.
As far as the South China Sea, the areas that they claim, they're the map that they drew out, it goes down. It's like basically they have said all of this is going to be theirs, and they actually put out an official map regarding it. So, as far as that goes, yeah, we'll see. By the way, today is the last day. I believe tomorrow night, actually. So if you do want to get the Valentine's Day $500 off, it's the same discount that they did on Black Friday. Go to Harvest Right. If you've been wanting to get into freeze drying, if you do your research, you'll see Harvest Right is at the top as far as one of the best machines to do it, and one of the most efficient, easiest to use, and built the best as far as how they build it. It is an incredible appliance. These are incredibly professional machines. So again, it is an investment, but once you do, you will save a ton of money making your own freeze-dried food that can last up to 25 years. Go to marfugglenews.com/freeze. Again, that discount goes away. I believe it says the 15th. So I don't know if that's at midnight tomorrow or if that's tomorrow or midnight tonight, but I assume it goes until today. So last chance to get that. That may go away completely. Again, so go check that out. You'll always get some sort of discount with our code. So if you're watching this in a week from now, go check out the current deal there. It is February 14th, Valentine's Day, and that was a sale that went on for 2 weeks. And then we have the Red Sea. U.S. Navy aircraft carrier going head-to-head with the Houthis has its planes in the air constantly, Strike Group Commander says. So they're stating that the Houthis are keeping them busy. Essentially, they said that they are constantly up in the sky trying to handle business. Dex, do you want to go over? Basically, they're active. They're essentially saying that this is not just a ground combat.
Well, it's not that. I mean, yeah, it is that, but it's the fact that there's so much activity going on that they're having to maintain round the clock flights. They're basically saying there are 12 plus hours a day, flights taking off and landing nonstop. And the article just is really more about going through the motions that some of the deck crew have to do. When a plane comes back in, have to reload its munitions if it let go of any of them or used any of them, I should say, in the attacks. But it's a constant, cycle that's happening over and over again every single day. That's how much activity is actually going on there. So keep that in mind when we think about this, because every now and then we'll report a little bit about, oh, maybe a ship got attacked or we did a launch. We are spending, and you got to imagine how much it costs to keep a fighter in the air, fighter jet, and it's not just one. They usually go up in at least pairs, if not a larger squadron of fighters. We are paying to keep them in the air. We're paying for them to take off and land continuously, and we're paying for all those munitions they're using. That's expensive. And when they're up there for that amount of time, they're not getting, 45 miles to the gallon. Okay, this ain't cheap. This is expensive flight time, not just the gas. We're talking about the maintenance on this equipment and all the people that go into it. So
every missile they fire, every missile is
and
hundreds of thousands.
Absolutely. And then what's the risk? I mean, just landing a plane on an aircraft carrier alone is risky. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we do it all the time. They take off and land all the time for training. They make sure they keep their skills up. But when you're doing it around the clock, nonstop, now you've added, you're having to do many more. And every time you do it, there's a risk. So we're increasing the risk of our airmen, of our troops. And I guess that's what they're there for. That we put them in harm's way to do thy bidding of our president when he directs them into battle like he's done here. But just, it's interesting to look at when you think about the amount that's actually happening, because we don't cover it that much in the news. And I'm not saying we don't, I'm just saying it's not like we get this every 3 hours in the news, but they are going at it nonstop right now.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's like a constant cash register sign just going cha-ching, 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 of essentially the all those hiked up tax rates. I guess they're going to good causes, right? And then over to Serbia. Serbia receives another arms delivery from Russia despite international sanctions over Ukraine. Serbia has received another arms delivery from Russia despite all of the sanctions. And Serbian populist President Alexander Vučić on Wednesday presented a Russian anti-drone system for electric jamming known as Repellent that he recently said, quote, is in our hands. It says, this is the Repellent. It's not as strong as the Krasuka, but it's excellent, Vučić said, referring to the Russian ground-based electronic warfare system. The delivery reached Serbia a few months ago, even though the country's airspace is almost completely surrounded by NATO member states that have agreed that Western sanctions against Russia. Serbia is the only European country that has refused to align with European Union sanctions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is kind of crazy. You don't really hear about Serbia at all. When all of these sanctions went down and when all of this stuff happened, really there was not much at all covering any of the countries that kind of weren't going with the flow. You heard a lot about the ones that were, because they want you to think, oh, it's all going well. But as we know, the first 3-4 months of the Ukraine, and Russia thing, it was like we obviously heard everything was going well. The ghost of Kiev was taking out Russians left and right. Russia only had old 100-year-old weapons and was sending grandpas in, and they were just falling to the wayside. They were absolutely just losing, and this was going to be over soon. Obviously, it's not exactly that. The electronic warfare stuff, Dex, that's what gets me is we're hearing so much more about jamming capabilities and anti-air, and talking about how they are all working together. All of these countries are trading hands on all of these advanced weaponry, and people don't think that they're siding up to go to battle. Like, it's pretty clear they're all getting armed up. This is
It is, and it's clear that Serbia is obviously partnered with Russia. They're sitting right in the middle of a bunch of NATO countries, and they also have this ongoing conflict. And we even talked about this last year. You guys may remember there was this continuous discussion as to whether or not inside of Serbia there was going to be, or with Kosovo, a conflict erupting between Serbia and Kosovo. So, if they're ramping up, that could be part of it as well. Kosovo is a former Serbian province that declared its independence after NATO intervened. If you remember back in the when they had the separatists back in 1999. So there's an ongoing tension there between those two that could easily pick back up, especially if things are kicking off across Europe and you start to see, things go beyond just UKR. And if it goes into Estonia, if it goes into the rest of the Baltic states or even Finland, and if it goes down into, and you start to see that, then you could easily see, Serbia saying, well, we're going to jump in and do what we want to do for against Kosovo and take care of that problem that they consider, right? And it'll snowball. And then don't forget, you even have Russia sitting in the middle of some of those countries. They have the Kaliningrad, but then you also have the Russian outposts that are in the middle of, is it Moldova, I believe, has that one area that is completely like a territory, or it's at least occupied by Russia inside the country. So it's very interesting makeup over there if things get hot, and what directions things can flare up from.
Yeah, you're looking at Kaliningrad. So if you're not familiar with the geography of this is all of Russia. You have Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Poland. Right in the middle here, this little area, this is Russia. This is kind of like Russia's Alaska. It's it is their country. And it's completely separate, and it's right in the middle of all of these NATO allies. So pretty crazy. And then, of course, down there, you've got the Kosovo / Serbia, that whole ordeal going on. But that's even another kind of name on the list, or a country on the list of these countries and these places that are butting heads. Everybody is like looking at their neighbors. They're like, hey, if there's gonna be a brawl, I want to take out John. I want to take out Steve over there. Man, I've been waiting to punch that guy in the face for a long time. You know what? He's got a nice car. I'm gonna take that car. It's really crazy to see. Germany, of course, over here. Germany is the one who leaked that plan, saying that Russia is going to attack NATO. I can hear people going, oh, they're totally lying. They're making that up, this and that. If it's orchestrated, we have just as much to worry about. If they are doing something to set forth a plan to change things, that's going to be the same effect for us civilians. That's the whole, and for, if you're in military, heck, you're going to war. It's not going to be a fun time here soon. And then Ukrainian military says it sank a Russian landing ship in the Black Sea. As far as, do we have the Russian side of this, by the way? I know we try to at least cover both kind of angles, but I don't know if they've responded yet, have they?
Well, they said that several Russian military bloggers did confirm the attack on the ship, but stopped short of confirming that it had sunk. So that's as much as we know at the moment.
And, they're bloggers, right? It's not like the, RT is reporting they sunk our ship. So not saying we would trust that either, but we always wait until we try to have both sides, like both arguments to this thing. If Ukraine did that, if they sank another major ship, they did it with U.S. or NATO help. We know this. Any of the big attacks they've done, they've used NATO infrastructure to do. Why that matters is because if it was going to hike up the tensions, if something happens and it's a really big hit to Russia, then Russia's going to go, well, yeah, Ukraine did it, but who was the one who funded it? Who was the one who handed them their weapon with their serial number on it? They're going to be looking at who is responsible for it happening. So I guess we'll see over the next couple days. And of course, if you're not subscribed, you'll get an update if you watch our channel. And we have over to the Kremlin. Putin says Russia is close to creating cancer Vs. Vs as far as, it's a very sensitive thing here. But basically something that you would stick in and it would either cure or help prevent. It's pretty crazy. So we don't know if we can. Well, here's the thing. Most people believe that they've had different, cures for these things. And that, some companies would rather you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per week or month to essentially have their treatments. Think about it. Cancer is one of the biggest moneymakers in all of pharma. Dex, what is he saying here? That they've found a cure or a prevention?
He says they've come very close to the so-called creation of that type of prevention. Those types of drugs of the new generation, as they refer to them. It's interesting though to think about it because this is coming from a country outside of the West, where the West is dominated by these large, powerful companies that pretty much own this space. Let's call it. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm trying to get too much into the buzzwords, and it just makes you wonder if another country outside of that sphere, like Russia, has a different opportunity to lead research or do or develop solutions because they're not tied to it. Now, it doesn't mean they would be faster. It probably means they would be slower. And maybe that's why we're hearing of this now when a lot of us have thought this kind of stuff has been around and it's been held back. That's the theory. And I'm saying that's a theory. That's not fact. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of the thought process I have here. But at the same time, I know a lot of people don't like, the solution here. And I think there's a lot of other things that we should be looking at too. But when you look at this type of problem of cancer, it seems like it has exponentially grown in our evolution over the last 100 years.
Well,
and there's lots of factors that have played into that.
Think about this. If you heard, we covered this press conference, and it was at the World Forum. If you guys, the economic one, we talked about the one comments that said the future is in the V, right? The V is going to be everything, not just for what we went through a couple years ago, but for cancer, for the common cold, for gout. Whatever there is, there would be something that you could take every year or every 6 months or every 3 months, something that they said was where the money is. They're looking at it from a money standpoint. They're saying this is where the money's at. They're telling investors, hey, these are going to be the next thing. This is where money is because you're going to need it every year. With cancer treatments, I've personally watched some of my friends go downhill very fast. I've lost friends. I've lost a lot of friends to cancer actually at this point. And I don't wish it on my worst enemy. My father, through complications of, autoimmune disorders, he went through that and had cancer because of it. Lung cancer, even though he never smoked a day in his life, got lung cancer. And that was actually the thing that, took his life from other things, right? So and I've watched my very good friend, I took him to half of his treatments. I took him to all of his appointments. It is a horrid thing. So if there is something that comes out, right, if you have that, the treatments are thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. Would they want to lose that? Well, maybe 1 out of 3 gets cancer. They treat that and half of the people don't have the money. 1 in 10 can pay for it and they get lots of money off that. Or if you can get something out of every single person, get a smaller amount, but get it from every person on the planet, who's not going to do it? Oh, you mean I won't die of this if I do this? You would be or what if they made it mandatory? They worked with world governments and said, hey, everybody's got to do this. That's a freaky thing. That's a lot of money. And I think after the last few years, they're thinking in that direction. Like that would be a really smart investment. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just put some numbers on what you're saying. 1.9 million new cancer cases diagnosed per year, according to American Cancer Society in 2022. So there's the number. So if you think about that, only 1.9 million people will need these types of treatments that are treating it after the fact versus the other
376 million.
scenario. Yeah, 330 million, 300 and whatever, 76 million, or the entire population of the planet times invent any series of these that you can prevent people from getting, whether it's cancer to other ailments. You could come up with 10 different mandatories.
You make $1 million a year, or you get $20. You get $25 from 8 billion people. Do the math yourself, and that's per year, per 6 months. It's a lot of money. Not to mention, you double that up and go, well, while you're here, you can also get this one and that one and this one and that one. Oh, your teeth? You don't want halitosis? Oh, okay. Well, do that too. Oh, you've got a sore tooth? We've got something for that. You have skin things? Here's this. We've got a 6-in-1 combo. This one's a little bit more, but you get the most bang for your buck. I guess we'll see. Just a quick reminder, go check out the mods. Awesome people. I know I told you at the beginning, but again, just want to remind you, you can find all of our wonderful mods at marfooglenews.com/friends. Not only that, you find other creators, like, of course, Jacob Israel. You've got, of course, Bible Talk 777 over there, Alaska Prepper, all sorts of great ones over there. So go check it out. And over to India. Huge swarm of mosquitoes rises above city, leaving people confined to their homes. This is really nuts. Do we have images here?
At the very bottom, I think there is one image past all the other goofy images that you'll see the tornado, the mosquito tornadoes. It's not Sharknado, it's Skeetonado.
Skeetato? Skeetato? Skeetato. That sounds like something a rapper would eat. I don't know. But you guys get the gist of it. Very, as far as mosquitoes, blood-sucking, nasty insects, apparently made some beautiful shapes in the sky. And it looks like starlings, but it's actually really, really gross. It's all mosquitoes. The swirling clouds are actually mosquitoes, which have formed vast swarms over the West Indian city of Pune. It says that some residents have compared the sight to a tornado, while others have warned the quantity of biting insects poses a serious danger due to the diseases they spread. Many have been unable to leave their homes in the area, while children are not permitted to spend times in the gardens or the parks. Imagine that coming to anywhere. I mean, it's going to happen anywhere. Mosquitoes are everywhere. But mosquitoes are the worst. I don't think there's a single person here that goes, I love those little guys. They're a part of our, they're a part of our environment. They're a part of the ecosystem. No, pretty much everybody across the board hates mosquitoes. If you've ever been bitten by a lot of them, I almost, my aunt says I could have died one time. I got bit by so many. It was before I could take physical pills when I was a kid. I could only take the liquids and stuff, and I didn't know how to swallow a pill. I had like 1,000 bites everywhere because I went down by a river, and I was swole all over my body. I mean, it was everywhere. Luckily, they were, I think they like crushed it up or put it in water or something, gave me Benadryl. But mosquitoes are just absolutely horrid. And to have this many, could you imagine not being able to go outside because of huge clouds of mosquitoes? Oh, that just sounds so uncomfortable. I don't know what the weather like is in Pune, but what if it was hot and muggy and just sounds like hell.
It probably is. Did you know this? I didn't realize this. They're considered the deadliest creature on the planet, and according to some estimates, have killed off half of all humans that have ever lived because of the fact that they spread several potentially fatal tropical diseases, including malaria, dengue,
West Nile,
chikungunya, and yellow fever, and other things, Zika, and all that stuff. I didn't know that's crazy. But yeah, 4 days it's been where some of these people can't even leave their house.
Yeah.
because it's just these massive swarms.
Yeah. Kids can't even go out to the park. That's that's no fun at all.
There's management issues probably, because, there are places like in Florida, they have massive, Florida's a giant swamp. They have, mosquito problems, but they have management. Like they manage water, sitting water. They try to keep stuff from sitting. And of course they spray stuff too, but you think they would manage this a little better. And if you have a problem like this,
Oh,
it's probably due to a lack of management of the mosquito populations.
do you remember the Disney story we covered? At Disney, the management of mosquitoes is like this insane thing. It's its own, because Disney World is its own city. And obviously everybody knows this over the last couple of years in Florida, since they had this big battle because Disney was basically going under its own kind of rules. It was like it was almost like a reservation as far as they had their own laws, sheriffs, EMTs, everything. But as far as the Disney thing, they constantly spray for these things. There's whole teams and whole fleets of these sprayers, because if you really
They,
think about it, you don't see mosquitoes in Disney World or Disneyland. Isn't that
he,
weird?
he, yeah, he hired General Joe, who was a general out of who had experience building the Panama Canal, and they had a malaria outbreak down there, and that guy had tons of experiences dealing with the mosquito population. So he hired him when he built it because Disney is sitting on a swamp. So he architecturally or landscapely, however you want to call it, water management, made it so no water was standing anywhere. All water has to flow throughout the entire park. And then they have sentinel chickens. You ever heard of that?
Yeah,
They have
they
these
eat.
chickens that are hiding out in different areas because the chickens are immune, but they can test the blood of the chicken to see if they have malaria or any other, mosquito-borne disease, so they'll know if it's in the area. So they leave these chickens in different areas, hidden in the park,
I just
and they go all out. I mean, yes, you can step outside of Disney, you're gonna get bit by mosquitoes, but inside Disney World, you don't get bit by mosquitoes.
it's just I see a sentinel chicken. Like I see, X-Men Sentinel, but a chicken with laser eyes or something. It's crazy. But and before we talk about, they just found water. Do want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out Energy, marfuglenews.com/energy, INERGY. This is our recommendation for a solar generator. Again, there is a wait, so you definitely want to get on this quicker than later. As far as a solar generator, I don't believe there is one that's built built harder. These are tough as tanks. As far as the one I recommend, definitely now would be the tactical. They are moving towards the design. Again, the 1,500-pound latches, the reinforced frame, the water and dust resistance. Again, if you've already have the regular Flex 1500, that's fine. They also are building adapters so you can adapt the new heated batteries to the old head unit or vice versa. They've got all sorts of stuff coming out, but you can mod it just like bricks, like Lego bricks. You can connect them, expand it up to 96 batteries. You can change the overall performance of it. You can add UPS. You can add rapid charger to where it can charge each battery in 45 minutes via the wall. And of course, you can get power for free from the sun. Then store that power and use it when you want, or use it concurrently. It's super, super awesome. Again, it is built like a tank. It's built like appliances used to be built. Again, they used to build appliances so they'll last 60 years, but then they were like, oh, if we build a toaster that lasts 80 years, they're never going to buy another toaster. That's when it started getting crappy. As far as these goes, they use the best components. The company is not, again, the only big competitors that do the exact same thing as this. You go look up the companies. I'll just say that. Go look up for yourself who they are front for or who they are connected to. This is actually the same company. The tactical was designed not only by Energy, but by the Air Force Research Lab. This won the STTR Phase 2 contract with the Army. The Army doesn't care if it's pretty. The Army doesn't, care about much except for if it runs. Is it going to turn on when we need it to do? And is it reliable? So this is going to be shipping out with the Army. They are tough as nails. So again, go with this. If you can't afford this, or you can't go with one of these, or you can't wait the waiting time, go with my personal advice. Go with a gas generator. and then try to either sell it or keep it when you get your energy. Try to get most of your money back or something down the line. You may not need to use it, may be able to keep it in the box. But you have a storm or SHTF. If we lose power, gas stations are going to be useless. Unless you've stored up hundreds of gallons of gas, you may be screwed. With this, as long as the sun rises the next day, which we've had a pretty good record of the sun rising, then you will have power. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Not only do you help us, but you also get a huge credit as well. So you get a discount and you're helping independent media. It is one of the best made generators out there, and it's silent. Nobody's going to hear you have it. And then let's see here. We have water in the cosmos. It says that cosmos history made. Scientists discover water on asteroids for the first time. In what could have come out of Apple TV Plus space drama, quote, for all mankind, scientists have made an astonishing discovery on the surface of asteroids: water. This finding, a collaborative effort between Never a Straight Answer, NASA, and a German space agency at DLR, marks the first time water has been detected on these celestial bodies, offering new insights into the origins of water in our solar system and potentially across other solar systems as well. Research focused on 4 silicate-rich asteroids employing Forecast instrument aboard a retired stratospheric observatory for infrared astronomy, or SOFIA, to capture mid-infrared spectral signatures that are indicative of molecular water. Out of these 2 asteroids, named Iris and Massalia, which for those that want to dig, you might want to look up what that means, or what those words mean, showed unmistakable signs of water molecules on their surface. It says we detected a feature that is unambiguously attributed to molecular water on the asteroids Iris and Massalia. What does that mean? Again, you find water, you find life. We based our research on the surfaces of the team that found molecular water on the sunlit surface of the moon. We thought we could use SOFIA to find spectral signature on other bodies. This discovery is significant because asteroids are considered remnants of the early days of our solar system's formation. By studying their composition, scientists can glean information about the distribution of materials, including water, during the solar nebula phase. Asteroids are left over from the planetary formation process, so the compositions vary depending on where they are formed in the solar nebula. It's a bunch of jazz as far as I wonder if this is going to help theories on, how to back up the Big Bang or the opposite, right? Dex, as far as like all of the technical mumbo jumbo, if they found water on asteroids, I guess what theories are going to come out of this? How are they going to, how is this going to back up other theories? Is it going to mean, there's life out there? What is this going to support?
I'm sure the people who deal in the theories will go deep on this and try to figure out where it came from and how it got there, and that may be interesting. I think what's probably more beneficial is these mining companies that are trying to get to these asteroids and set up camp on them and start mining them or start using them for resources or even base stations or whatever, just like they're trying to do to the moon. Like one of the most important reasons why the location is the southern pole of the moon for the new bases they're building, which as far as Artemis goes, it's not just about getting to the moon, it's about getting to the moon and putting a base there so we can then go from the moon to Mars, is because there's water there. There's water at the southern poles of the moon, or the southern pole. There's not 2 southern poles, there's one. There's water there, at least that's what they say. And if you find water on asteroids, especially larger ones, that could give yet another opportunity for a reason to try to, go to it and set up camp, so to speak, or set up a base, or at least have an outpost on an asteroid.
We'll see. The age-old argument, we'll see if I don't think we'll ever solve it until regular people like you and I can go up to space and see it for ourselves. Kiki Gray, thank you, Marf, Dex, and Mods. Great show. God bless. Thank you, 1OB, DFW Jackie, Michelle K, Hopkinson, Cinny with 45 viewers. Hey, I don't know if you're still here, But Cindy, I do want to say I appreciate you and thank you for introducing people to our channel, and thank you for hosting. That's a big deal. If we get a chance, we will return the favor. Thank you, Cindy, and much love, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. Well, thank you. Thank you for a really great community over on DLive. If you haven't given it a try, go ahead and do so. And then Kimbria, Scooby-Doo, right? Chance and Jammer hold it down there as well. The great mods. Outlied Josie Wales, Ukraine. Kimbria, Skyhouse, Michelle K. Thank you. UKR for laundering. Gun control is just control. Hey, Callie2334, one on B. And one on B says, diamonds are a girl's best friend. Well, thank you. And thank you for the diamond. You're giving away your best friend. And then Mindy's mom and Parhan13, thank you for following. I appreciate that. And much love to you as well. As far as thank you, Carol, Awake in 1979, Mars World, K. Parker Fraser, Adam Dex, J. Mods, this family are the best. Love and blessings to all. And Mars World 369, I says, I love those little guys. Hey, thank you. And thank you, Awaken 1979 again. Greg Heiss, Julie Pilkerton, again, thank you. Greg Heiss, thank you. Terrible Truth, thank you so much for your support today. I believe you are the top supporter tonight, so thank you so much. Make sure to share our stuff out if you can. Always a great pleasure having everybody here. Let's see here. Make sure if you want to join us for the shoutro, you just got to stay in the chat. You'll be ported over. Thank you, Dex. Love you. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys. Love y'all. Thank you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Yeah.